Hey guys, below the bottom tier here again, and today we will be doing a budget build for the Mythical map. Last video, the build was focused on helping Turbo with a build that uses all of his items. Now, this one is more of a general budget build for everyone. So, the Lutherium Broadsword, cheapest sword you can get for high damage. In this tier, Lutherium Armor, or armor of course. Jahart Walnuts for health, Tears of Serenity also for health, Feeble Bloodstone for health again, this one for defense, and this one for energy. I would have preferred more energy, but more often than not, you would not really need it because most of your damage comes from this. And Teratome is for extra damage. Now, why Fireproof Potion? Because you basically become immune to the Infernal charges. So, the name of this build is the Infernal Fire Dance. I will explain why it's called that. And with that being said, let's begin. Normally, I would have Draco Juice, but I ran out. So, you can probably swap one of these. The fish is for extra HP. If in case that you do need it, which with this build you most probably will. But yeah, all of these are relatively cheap. 5 eng, 20 eng, maybe 30, 40 maybe. So this one equates to roughly under 200 eng, which is relatively cheap for a mythical build. And first you consume the fire resist, and these guys usually you have to deal with them in some way, shape, or form because hitting them with the Infernal Fire Charge kind of hard. So I'll explain why I named this the Infernal Fire Dance. So here, and then you can stand here in the middle, and then they just dance around you. You have to be careful with Grave Walkers though, because they can still hit you. But more often than not, the other mobs won't even really bother touching you. So here, you can see it better in a bigger lot area. And then I stand here in the middle. And then they just dance around. Except for that guy, because he jumps you. But you can see why you don't need a lot of energy. But you still do need to pick off like the smaller stacks of these, because you don't want to spend too much on infernal charges. But right now they're relatively cheap. Another issue you'll be having though is against these guys, because of their summons. So if you can kill them, that would be great, but he's just running away and it's really difficult right now. Night Prowlers can also hit you, so be careful of that. Their damage is actually relatively high. And we'll gather all the rest later and we'll speed it up afterwards. So your main goal is gathering as many of these guys as possible. And why you stand in the middle is because once their aggro ends, like the running animation ends, because it's coded in as a mechanic where they run away from things that do damage over time, like fire, decay, things like that. So when you do that, what happens is all of them start to re-aggro after 1 or 2 seconds. And when you're standing in the middle of it, everything of the fire, for example, like this, when you stand here in the middle, when they become aggro again, like that guy right there, he runs back into the fire and it causes him to panic all over again. Here you can see that the Feeble Bloodstone is already consumed, which is not very good. And the reason why I chose Teratome, it doesn't affect it really for fire, but you would need it to deal with mobs with your melee weapon, especially these guys. And I think from here we can just speed everything up, maybe 2 times, 3 times the speed, and we'll get to the Warden afterwards. Alright, so now we're closing in on the Warden, and he's the last opponent that we have to fight. And as you saw, we used about 12 Infernal charges. We'll be gathering these nodes. I only gathered some of them. I didn't bother to gather any of the lower tier ones because I don't really need them. But as you saw, I used 2 fishes, and I messed up with one of my Tears of Serenity charges. I suggest using this outside of combat.
Flashback.
Here, I had 2 Tears of Serenity, I used 1, and I didn't get any healing at all because I got hit.
End of flashback.
I suggest using this outside of combat. Nowhere near any mobs, because you take a lot of HP damage from just being near them. There's a chance for it to not consume all 10 seconds to give you the 1000 HP. Now, this one, you would want to save at least 1 charge against the Warden. And if you pick one of these up, great, use them. And if you want to use this, you can do this. And then fight him in the fire. It's just extra damage. But I suggest not doing that. It's not really worth it. It's not worth the cost. And this is why you need to bring Draco Juice, because this will take forever. Is this build cost effective? Maybe, maybe not. In terms of gold, not really. But like, for those that really want to experience mythical tier maps, be my guest. It's not super cost effective in the sense that you're using a lot on bombs. But is it fun? 100%. And you have to consider that a lot of these relics are on the lower end of epic. There's not even a single legendary relic, which, to be honest, if you're gonna be doing mythical tier maps, I do not know why you would be doing that with only epic and below relics, but here's an opportunity for you to do that. 100% mob clear, and we use 13 infernal charges, assuming each one costs 75 gold per. This is also our end time, 11 minutes, roughly, right? I didn't gather all the nodes, but if I probably gathered all of them, it's about 11 minutes and 30 seconds. But in terms of gold, 75 gold, I think, or was it 65 now? 65. 65 times 13 is 845 gold, which most people would use discrete melee, enhanced melee, lethal adrenaline, and Draco juice, which would amount to, assuming this is 700 plus 500 plus 250 is 1400. So technically, plus Draco juice, which is another like 500 to 600. So it's about 2000 gold per run if you're using these potions. But if you're using these infernal charges, it's only costing you about 800 on the bombs, 200 on the fireproof, and some fish, which is roughly the same. You can go with lower tier fish. But I just went with higher tier fish because I didn't want to bother. So if you bring Kraken Carps, like maybe 4 or 5 of them, you should be good. And yeah, with that being said, this is the Infernal Fire Dance build, and hopefully you guys enjoyed. I really suggest, though, that you use other relics, especially healing ones. If you can at least get the incubator, that would be great. Or screamies, you can replace the Jahurt walnuts. You'll be a lot safer also. And I mean, this one is also a good substitute for walnuts, which is Hocus Focus. But yeah, aside from that, this is the build. I really do hope you enjoyed, and I'm pretty sure that this might actually get nerfed by Cliff because it's broken right now, as you can see. I did a mythical tier map with only epic and rare items, which is insane to me. Well, I hope you leave a like and subscribe to my channel, and see you in the next video. Okay, real quick guys, this is the whale version of it. I have the dividing supremacy because it has the highest amount of damage type of weapon, which is the axe, and band of brutality and teratome for one-shotting the tier 1 mobs. This Titan's takedown for Warden, and this one for defense, healing, and energy, and this one just to speed up my run. Also, this one just gives me more speed and, melee attack speed. I use about 1 fish per run if I'm unlucky, and if I'm lucky, I don't use any at all. And my times are 7 to 9 minutes, usually in the range of 8 minutes per run, with Draco Juice sub 7, roughly. Yeah, that's it for the whale version of this. I also use Doomarok, by the way, to decrease damage against undead.